Hello, and welcome to Stories from the View, a podcast from the Pleasant View Senior Center in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. On this podcast, we invite East Longmeadow residents to tell us stories about their lives and events. And today's guest is Roger Kellman, a civil engineer and artist, and he's here to speak to our host, Ed Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Eric. Welcome. It's good that you're here, Roger.
Good morning. It's good to be with you.
We know each other. We've known each other for about 4 or 5 years. Most recently, we've kind of gotten together on the subject of art. And in fact, I took your class at the Longmeadow Adult Center on painting. And it's the first time I've ever taken a painting class. And I want to hear more about your art. But first of all, kind of going back to the beginning, at least the beginning here in East Longmeadow, when did you come to East Longmeadow and why?
I grew up in New Jersey, and my wife, who I met at college in New Jersey, was from North Adams, Massachusetts. So in 1989, we decided to move up here to be close to her family. She had a sister living in Wilbraham at the time, so we looked around, and mostly we looked in East Longmeadow, and we found a nice little house on Cedar Hill Road, and we've been here ever since, and plan to stay here.
Good. So you've been involved in the community here?
A little bit. When I first got here, after a couple of years, I got on the Conservation Commission. It wasn't an elected position, so it was fairly easy to get appointed. And I did 3 years there, and I enjoyed it. I do have a background in environmental engineering and in permitting and stuff like that. So I felt I could contribute to the work of the Conservation Commission, and it was very enjoyable. And I've been my other involvement is primarily, the Health Club, which is another place where I know Ed from, the health tracks here in East Longmeadow. And I was in the Air Force from 1971 to 1974. So I've become active in the American Legion post here in East Longmeadow, post 293.
I saw you in the parade.
Right, yes. And of course, we're very pleased that the Senior Center is working with us on creating the Veterans Memorial, which is very important to the community, I think, and certainly to the post. And we're very dedicated to trying to help make that happen.
Okay. Maybe you could just say a few words about the memorial.
Well,
where it's going to be and what activities are going on to.
Yeah, well, of course you have. I can't think of his name right now. You're a transportation coordinator.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Terry.
I'm blanking on Terry Glesko. I'm sorry, Terry, if you're listening, that I forgot your name, but I just blanked out here. So, I mean, Terry, it would be great for you guys to interview him at some point to talk about that. But it's going to be here on the property, out in the front yard, very nicely designed by a professional architect and landscape planner. And we've been working on this for a couple of years now, and, continuing to try and raise the funds in order to make it a really impressive and worthwhile Veterans Memorial. And the committee that works on it has worked very diligently. And before even starting here, they had looked at a number of others and spoken to different people. And fortunately, we've gotten good support from some of the government agencies and some of the other industries in the area. So we're looking forward to seeing it happen.
Good. So you mentioned working as a civil engineer. What did you do as a civil engineer? Any kind of interesting projects or?
I started out in New Jersey with the Regional Planning Agency. I worked for them for quite a few years. I worked for the Port Authority for a while. I worked for a private consulting firm. And but then we decided to move up to this area to be closer to my wife's family, as I mentioned before. And my first job was actually with Bay State Environmental Consultants, who had an office right down the block here. And I worked on a project in Forest Park, helping to stem some of the erosion, which happens quite frequently in this area. So that was fun. I got to wander around Forest Park quite a bit. And then after that, I was a civil engineer in Bloomfield, Connecticut. And right now I work for a small civil engineering firm down in Connecticut. And we do a lot of site plan. For instance, Big Y is one of our big clients. We have most of our projects in Connecticut, but we have a number of in Massachusetts, including Big Y. And so if they're putting an addition on or building a new building, basically civil engineers do everything outside the building. The architects do everything inside the building. And we're outside the building. So traffic studies, surveying, and general civil engineering, drainage, layout, stuff like that.
So tell us about the art. How is it that you, as a civil engineer, got into the creative aspects of?
Well, I mean, there are actually some aspects of civil engineering. The drafting back in the day when you used to hand draft stuff was kind of an artistic endeavor. Of course, now it's all computerized and AutoCAD, so that makes it a little simpler. But my mother was a painter. So she even worked professionally many, many years ago doing production art. And so it's right after I was, old enough to hold anything in my hand, I started out doing some finger paintings that my mother had me doing. And I still have those, by the way. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we're on the radio, so this is not a visual presentation here. And so, she did oil painting, so I started doing oil painting. And I have a couple of those from when I was, like 10 years old. And then I just continued to do art, and usually started out very simple, just with, black magic markers, things that you could do quickly. And so over the years, I've done just about everything.
Well, we've talked about this. You've told me about this. You started, and for most of your art career, have done realistic art. And then a few years ago, abstract?
Yes, I did. As I said, mostly I did quick sketches. I didn't have a lot of time to do stuff. And I would always take a pad, a paper, and, some equipment with me wherever we went on vacation or different places. And I'd do quick sketches. And they were scenes. They were realistic things. I mean, sometimes you couldn't tell exactly what I was, drawing, but usually it was pretty close. And then with the civil engineering, my work tended to be fairly tight, so if I was drawing a building, I wanted to get it, right, get the dimensions right, the proportions, the perspective right. Well, yeah, which helps in engineering. For art, not critical, not absolutely essential. And so I decided to take an abstract art class at the Springfield Quadrangle Museums. And I would say that was probably at least 20 years ago. I've probably taken 30 or 35 classes there. And we can talk a little bit about that later. Okay. Because they have a wonderful, wonderful set of programs over there. So I took this abstract art class. The instructor was great. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought anybody can do abstract art. It's just, colors, lines, whatever. And some of the students were very good. I was terrible. I did not do a single thing that I thought was worth. It just didn't work. It just was a lot more difficult than I expected that it would be. So I kind of gave up on the concept of abstract art, thought I was a complete failure at abstract art, and went back to doing more realistic stuff. And I guess it was maybe 4 years ago, I saw from their catalog that they were offering an abstract art class. So I decided, all right, I'm going to give it another try. And so I did. And it was a slow process. One of the things was using acrylic paint, which dries very quickly, which I was not really used to if I was doing oils or, each medium has a completely different way of dealing with it, issues, both positive and negative. And I struggled with the acrylic paint. But I started to get, okay, that doesn't look too bad. I'll take a picture of that. I'll keep that. And so I took the class once, And then I decided to take it a second time. And there were a number of other students that also took it a second time. And so 4 of us, after the class was done, we decided, well, we could come back and do another class and spend whatever it was to take the class, or we could just do this on our own. So the 4 of us have met weekly for the last 3 years. So I have a lot of abstract paintings available because with abstract paintings, you can pretty much get one done in a 2 or 3 hour session. Sometimes you go back and work on it more, but you can produce a lot of them.
Sure.
So
the class that that I attended at the Adult Center in Longmeadow was the abstract.
Yes.
And that was fun.
It was, and it was a lot of fun to organize. We had to do a little bit more preparation and thinking about a broad range of students and a broad range of abilities.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there were some novices there, and there were some people who were
that had painted before, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a lot of fun. And I think they may do it again at the Longmeadow Adult Center in January. They may ask us to come back and do another.
Yeah, I needed another class.
Yes, yes.
Well, I thought it was fun. I mean, pine cones as part of the.
Well, abstract can be a lot more than just paint with brushes. It can be collage. You can add a lot of things. You can use sponges, all kinds of
why I use
whatever
sponges,
you've got laying around. You can dip it in the paint and put it on the canvas. I love bubble wrap.
I didn't try that.
And you get, and they come in different sizes, the ones that are in the sheets, not those loose pellets. Those would be, I think those would be awkward. But I mean, I've used dipped string in paint and just kind of lay that on the thing. And you can leave the string on there, let it dry and let the string be part of the thing. So there's a lot that you can do with abstract paintings.
So now the group that you have formed, the 4 of you, are now, you call yourselves?
The Abstract Art Squad.
Okay.
Right. .com.
.com, okay.
We do have a website, which is not up to date right now. As a matter of fact, one of my compatriots may be working on that as we speak.
Okay. And you've got a show coming up?
We do. We're setting up, after I leave here, I have about 30 paintings in my car, and we're going to go over and hang those at the Longmeadow Store's library. And they'll be up through the month of September.
Nice.
And we did a show last year sometime at the Longmeadow Adult Center that had the 4 of us have a show there.
Okay, so the show is all abstract.
Ours will all be abstract.
Okay.
There are some that are kind of scenes, but again, with abstract art, there can be a range from pure geometrical and some of the most famous paintings, and I won't know the name of the artist. I've read tons of books about abstract art and watched tons of videos. It can be, I forget who it was, Casimir or something like that. And all it was a black square, and that was it. And it's worth a lot of money, because it was done by this guy. And other can be very, just a number of squares overlaid on top of each other. Modigliani, he made a living just by doing squares and rectangles basically in the 3 primary colors. So there are a tremendous range of what can be included, from very simple to very detailed, ethereal. You have no idea what's going on, but you find in it, something to look at.
Okay. So is there going to be a reception of some sort?
There is.
Okay.
There is. I don't know if I wrote down the date of the reception.
Okay.
It'll be posted. I think it's September 12th. That's a guess.
Middle of the month, as I remembered.
Right, right.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's that?
They have, basically the 4 of us will be there. I mean, with the library and with most shows, the paintings are hung. And then, people come into the room and the building and, they see what's there. And some people actually come to look at different shows. But then the one day that we have a reception, the 4 of us will be there and we'll provide goodies, for
Okay.
your consumption if you decide
I'll
to
look it
stop
up. I'll
over.
be there.
Good. And of course, stuff will be for sale
I was going to
at
ask you about that.
at a very good price.
Oh, okay.
One of the interesting things, if you go on to any of these, highfalutin websites, Christie's and stuff like that, and you see art, and I give a lot of credit to the various abstract artists that have created something unique, and it's really nice looking, and it's tens of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is that I think some of our stuff looks pretty damn close. And it'll be at $50.
Whoa, there we go.
So it's a very interesting thing how art is priced.
Yeah. Okay.
And it seems to me if you get a name for yourself and you get a few collectors that love your work, and then all of a sudden you're in a museum,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden anything you do is
Gotcha.
worth tons of money. Meanwhile, there are thousands of people that do it just for pleasure.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually say, I do call myself an artist because I have done it long enough that I can do that. But mostly I want to do art.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that I try to say in the classes is, people say, oh, I can't draw. That doesn't matter. There's just so many different things that you can do with crayons, color pencils, watercolor, oil paints, that you'd be surprised at what anybody can do if they loosen up and don't worry about it.
Okay. So is there a good place around here to get art supplies? I mean, that you would recommend?
Well, I mean, at Jerry's Artorama, which has a big online presence, but there is a separate Jerry's Artorama in West Hartford, which is where I go a lot. And we like to support local businesses.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was thinking.
And I wish I had the name in front of me, but I'm sure up in East Hampton or Northampton, there are some nice local art suppliers.
Okay.
And of course, you can go to Michael's down in Enfield or wherever you find a Michael's, and they have a fairly good range of supplies. But it's nice if you can support local local
No,
facilities.
I like that. What about a gallery? I mean, how does an artist get into a gallery?
Well, I don't
Do they just
know.
go knock on the door.
If I knew how, I would be there.
Wow.
I think it's you start out by having shows at libraries and other similar type facilities, and I suppose you could. We haven't tried that yet. To show up at a gallery, and there are plenty of galleries around.
That's what I was thinking when you mentioned. I was thinking up in Northampton and any of the areas up there, or any number of places, I guess, in Western Mass that would be
And
interested.
if people want to view art, I mean, besides going to museums, again, there are most of the libraries and senior centers and different things like that have occasional art shows where you can go for free and just look at art. And then obviously galleries that are available, and online. I mean, you can go online and look at all kinds of art.
Thinking back to you making the transition from realism to abstract. I mean, is that a common thing? I mean, are there big name artists who have done that?
Probably if you're a big name artist, you've created a genre of your own, and you're probably going to stick to that. But there are also artists, and again, I won't try and show my ignorance of art history, but that have done pottery, have gone into other things besides two-dimensional art on the wall. So people can move around, but I suspect that people that are really good at something kind of stick with what they're good at.
Is there more that you would like to say about the quadrangle, about the classes there?
Sure.
Yeah.
they have the Springfield Quadrangle, first of all, is a great place to visit. You know, the museums that are over there are just a lot of fun. And they have the Fine Arts Museum, and then they have the Walter Vincent Smith Museum, which also has art. And they also have sculptures and, you know, a lot of other stuff.
I was there not too long ago. That was very impressive.
Chinese vases,
Yes.
armor. They have a whole room full of armor. So it's a great place to go. They have classes, I think, just about year round that cover a wide range of mediums, watercolor, oil, beginners classes, more advanced classes. And they're usually, I'm going to say, if you're a member, you know, sometimes there'll be a 2-day class and maybe it'll be like a Friday and a Saturday, and that might be $75 or $100. They have a lot during the day, maybe, let's say, Tuesday mornings for 10 weeks or 8 weeks, and that might be $125, $150. So I think very reasonably priced. The instructors are usually excellent. And again, there'll be other students that you'll get to meet and talk to, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
those
that
art
seems like an
classes.
important part of it, to meet other artists and to share ideas
Right.
and work together.
And again, most
Yeah.
of us are not going to be paid professional artists, but we can still do art. And to be with, you know, other artists is just a lot of fun. I mean, I guess I wish I was, you know, born back when all those impressionists were hanging out in the bars in France and Paris. That would have been a lot of fun. So we don't quite have that, but we still get together and enjoy learning from each other.
Yeah. I was just thinking, there's that Mattoon Art Festival that's
Mattoon
coming up.
Art Festival. There's plenty of art festivals. I think the one up in Northampton, the Paradise City Art Festival, I believe, which may be coming up fairly soon.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
the
I think I saw
Mattoon is
something.
the weekend, I think, of the 10th.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's
We talked
coming up
about
shortly.
trying to get a booth there, and we just didn't get around to it.
It seems like a good idea. I thought about that. I'm not that why. Of course, I take my pictures. I mean, I have my photography as my art, which I've gotten into in the last few months. But and I looked into the Mattoon Festival, and they were booked. There was nothing available. But then I thought, I've got to be there for those like 2 days, 3 days, solid. I mean, it's a lot. Actually, what I've done is I've joined the Scantic River Artisans in Hamden. And so they'll get a booth. And then, you know, I've got maybe to put in a couple of hours at the booth, but essentially I bring my work there and they hang it and they've got the booth. And I'm doing it that way.
And there
Works out
are a
pretty well.
number of different, Wilbraham Art League, I'm a member of that, and they have shows different places where we'll be setting up. Actually, Cooley Dickinson Hospital in Northampton, they're going to have a show that they're actually setting up this morning, the Wilbraham Art League. And you can join that for $25. And again, there's a range of artists, and they have a monthly program. And there are others in this area that are happy to have people participate. And again, you don't have to be a professional artist to join any of those groups.
Now, from an education or learning point of view here at the Senior Center.
Yes, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned Jeff Kearns, who is here, and I wrote it down, so I'm going to look Friday mornings. Right now. Oh, okay. I'll stop in and say hello to Jeff on the
There
way
we
out.
go.
And it's only $15. His class is a little bit different in the sense that the people that are there are basically have been doing some kind of art. Probably if you showed up as an absolute newbie, he would try and help you out. But basically he says, bring your own materials. In other words, he doesn't supply paper or paints or anything like that. But if you walked in with some paper and a watercolor set and said to him, boy, I'm just beginning, what do I do? My guess is he would try and help you out. And he's very, very, very good and works very nicely. And actually my mother-in-law was taking classes or coming in to work with him for a little while. She took up watercolor when she was quite old and did some fairly nice watercolors. It was a bit of a struggle towards the end, but Jeff was very patient with her, and we'll work with anybody that's there.
Yeah, actually, I met Jeff at the art show that was here several months ago, and I talked to him a little bit and told him I was a novice, and he said, "That's fine. Come on in and do what you want to do." And I actually walked around in the room one day, and there are a whole variety of artists and techniques and materials, and everybody just doing their own thing. And he walks around and, looks over your shoulder, and maybe if you want some comment, he'll give you some guidance. So,
and it's nice. I mean, you can do art on your own, but sometimes, to get motivated to, okay. So by meeting with a group or taking a class, it kind of gets you focused. And so at least you're doing that. And then hopefully, if you really enjoy what you're doing, then you'll, kind of work on it on your own.
Good. So I know you've got to get going to set up your show over in Longmeadow.
Yeah.
You can just tell us again.
That Storrs Library in Longmeadow. It's off of Route 5, just right next to where the their community center is.
Community center, yes. Yeah.
And you do have to check the hours, and once in a while you'll show up and there's a class or something in the room, so that could be a little bit awkward, but our art will be up there for the month of September.
So starting today?
Starting
Something
probably
like
about noon today.
Okay, good.
We're hoping that we'll have the stuff up by noon today.
Good. Well, I will definitely check it out.
Great.
So, well, it's been nice having you here. I'm glad we were able to make the connection, get together.
Yeah, well, thanks. And I hope that anybody that's listening got something out of it, maybe a little bit of encouragement to kind of at least think about art. I'm sorry we don't have the visuals here to help motivate you in that respect, but this was fun. I enjoyed
next time we'll
being here.
do a video.
Right.
Well, and people can check out the website.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, abstractartsquad.com.
Yes.
There we
And I just went to it
Thank you.
actually. And, it's really great. You have a lot of nice stuff on there. Yeah. Yeah. It's very impressive. So, okay. So that wraps up another episode of Stories from the View. We'd like to thank our guest, Roger Kellman, for being here today. The Stories from the View podcast is available on the LCAT 01028 channel on YouTube and on Spotify. If you have a story that you'd like to share on the program, contact Pleasant View Senior Center Director Aaron Kobler by stopping by the Pleasant View Senior Center or by calling Aaron at 413-525-5436, extension 1401, or you can send Aaron an email at aaron.kobler@eastlongmeadowma.gov. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Stories from the View.